Caro, we'll start with you. When Hutchie was sitting in this chair on Monday, the AFL executive, or a big part of it, was on its way to a clandestine trip to the United States. Now, they did this a few years ago. This time they mean business. They're meeting in LA with Amazon. They're meeting in New York with CBS and Paramount, who now own Channel 10. And the future of the broadcast beyond 2024, it's really ramping up.
It is, Sam, and we've got a deadline, obviously. But as you wrote when you first broke the story a few days ago, we know that Gillon McLachlan wants to leave this done when he actually leaves the AFL, which is going to be at the end of the season. Now, you've put on the table, Sam, the distinct possibility that it will be an international streaming company in Paramount Plus or potentially Prime Amazon, and similarities I know, will be running the AFL rights from 2024. Yep. And there is every possibility, you say, that Channel 7 might not have any broadcast rights. Yeah,
I think that's an absolute possibility. I just want to break this down a little bit, Ross and Lloydie, because some people, when they hear the terminology broadcast rights, their eyes glaze over and they think, well, it's not going to affect me necessarily. And it might not. Seven and Fox, for all intents and purposes, could keep it beyond 2024. But I sit here tonight pretty confident that there'll be a streaming company involved in the next broadcast rights deal.
Kayo's a streaming company.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, separate to Fox. I think one of Paramount or Amazon will be involved. And if it's costing you, Ross, an extra $7 or $9 or $11 a month in order to do that for however many games, it's going to change fan behaviour towards...
Well, it's the way of the world, isn't it? We've got Netflix, we've got Stan, we've got a lot of streaming services providing entertainment content. It's a natural progression and it's where the money is.
Is it all about the money, or is the AFL not happy, Caro, with some of the way Seven are doing their football?
It's all about the money. Yep. It's always all about the money, and the clubs are saying to me today that they are very confident this is going to be, as it always is, even though it's always talked down a few years before, and with COVID we thought there might be a big downward rights number. Very confident it's going to be a record number, biggest ever and much bigger than what the AFL is getting at the moment. I mean, you went to Channel 10, you were one of the pioneers when the rights moved away, and they did move away from Seven completely for 5 years.
He's part of it here.
He's part of the team, and there's Andrew Marr and Mark Howard. Of course, we had did we have the 5-minute warning? Yep. There was Leo Barry, you star.
The David Barham clock, yep.
There was before the game. I mean, I do think there's a frustration.
Fifth quarter, Lloyd, you were involved in?
Yeah. I think football was done extremely well then.
Yeah, it was.
So obviously we've developed pretty well and we're pretty comfortable at home watching footy. I think that's a big issue. So it's obviously credit to who's doing football right now.
But I think it's more than the broadcasting of the game. I love the shows wrapped around it. Like the footy show became a marquee and lifted footy in this town. Everyone Tuesday and Thursday night. I love the Sunday morning football show. I get the wrap of the whole round on night. And I just think, when I think of Seven, you think of the old days World of Sport and the Sunday and the legends, Lou Richards. We haven't got that on Seven. I don't see the investment wrapped around the game personally.
Good point, Ross. Is that because, Caro, they paid too much for the actual games and they couldn't afford to do that? Or you don't think so, Sam?
Well, there was definitely a disappointment again at AFL HQ, when Seven, who did have a Sunday morning show and did have a Monday night show, dumped those shows during COVID for financial reasons. There is a frustration with some of Seven's coverage from AFL headquarters. We know that. Now, how much you've got to delineate. Gillon's creating an auction, which he does brilliantly every time, and even if he doesn't, there's always a view that it might happen. Ratings are not terrific. They're down a bit, but they're down with the NRL on Channel 9 as well.
That's right. Free-to-air ratings are down across the board, and subscription ratings are up. But I take Ross's point. I think there was disappointment when Seven decided, albeit in really tough times, to lose shows like Game Day and Talking Footy, which help provide fans with a different look of the game.
They've got Lee Matthews still. They've got Wayne Carey, you've got Tim Watson, but you don't hear them on the game and in a show carving and diving deeper like we get the opportunity to do here.
What's going to be interesting to me is if Paramount or whatever happens buys the rights, will they sell them all off to Seven and Fox Footy, which is what a lot of people think will still happen. We know it's going to happen quickly and soon, and it needs to, and we'll talk about the CBA later on in the show and the issues going on with the women, which are quite real and quite dramatic at the moment with the season starting in August. We also we know that Gillon has a lot on his plate. People turned up at AFL headquarters today not knowing that Andrew Dillon had even gone on the trip. I mean, it's all been... And obviously Gillen's taking the two men who were the internal candidates for his job. So it
Which
says,
is the really interesting part.
which says even, and Andrew Dillon is certainly firming as the internal candidate. I'm hearing if it is going to be an internal candidate who gets the job. But the commission will probably announce in the next 2 weeks if the grand final is going to be moved to twilight. We've got Jeff Brown and previously Andrew Pridham, two AFL presidents, campaigning to get rid of the rolling fixture. They're worried that it might be enshrined in the next rights deal. They don't want that to happen. They're saying it's hurting clubs. Will Gillen and this team give away things that the clubs and the fans hold dear for a big cheque as a legacy to the game? That's my concern.
Well, you said just before, Carol, it'll be all about the money and who pays the most money. I just wanted to look at the rolling fixture and what we've got coming up. So West Coast and Sydney played in round 7. Obviously, the last two, GWS St Kilda. But I want to look at the next 4. So West Coast v Richmond. Wouldn't it be great to have Geelong v Fremantle on a big Friday night? The next one, Port v Western Bulldogs. I'd love now to see Melbourne take on St Kilda on that Friday night. Collingwood, the Western Bulldogs in round 9. St Kilda Geelong's tucked away at 4:35 on a Saturday afternoon. I think what we expect will be good sides at the start of the year and big drawing sides won't be.
So,
by round
Matthew,
so would you make it rolling?
I'm a big fan of rolling. And
I'm with you completely.
I'm a
I
big fan of
understand
rolling, yeah.
Caroline's point, the fabric of the families, the tradition, the ritual of getting to the footy, the planning.
Yep.
A lot of families plan their whole season. But you can't want the money. You can't have the AFL women wanting the money, the men wanting an increase and develop the grassroots. At the end of the day, you've got to maximise the number one stakeholder, which is the TV rights.
You make the odd mistake. Richmond and West Coast are two big clubs with big supporter bases. People are going to watch that game.
There's a few mistakes
with
there,
the Western Bulldogs. I mean, I just think that is completely wrong. If the clubs are saying, don't.
Which clubs, Caroline? The big clubs are saying it, aren't they?
Well,
There's only 4 clubs in the
a big
AFL
club?
that aren't subsidised by the AFL.
Sydney's not a big club.
Well,
Sydney
they're
is saying-
subsidised, so why would they want less money?
Sydney
if they're
are
subsidised by
saying
the
don't
AFL.
give supporters another reason not to go to the footy. People
That's
like
okay.
to
Well,
plan...
give us $10 million back out of the subsidy. You can't have your cake and eat it too. We want our fixtures, we want our games, but give us $10 million. Let us earn the money from the TV rights. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
I think you'll still get a big figure without a rolling
Not as
fixture.
much.